Welcome back to AgriTalk from Orlando, Florida, the National Biodiesel Conference. Joining us now is Ann Steckel, Vice President, Federal Affairs for the National Biodiesel Board. Ann, thank you for joining us. We were just talking that the mood here is so much different from a couple of years ago when the loss of the tax incentives really crippled this industry. And now the tax incentives have expired again, but the feeling seems to be more of we're in a better position to deal with it this year, mainly because of the renewable fuel standard.
Well, thanks so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. And I think you're right. The mood is a lot more elevated than it was before when we lost the tax credit. I think that with our record production of 1 billion gallons last year, we're coming into this year on some very strong footing. We also have the renewable fuel standard in place this time. We didn't have that last time when the tax credit expired. So I think those two things coupled together have really made us more optimistic and very forward-thinking in terms of how the industry is going to turn out.
Given the political gridlock in Washington, given the fact that it is an election year, what are the chances of getting the tax incentive reinstated? Anytime there's an election year, it's all politics all the time. And so we have a very short time frame upon which we can work to get the tax credit pushed through. There is a vehicle that may be moving, which we would hope to include our biodiesel tax credit in, tax extenders package. So we're really mobilizing all of our efforts, utilizing all of our grassroots, and really pushing members of Congress to let them know how important the extension of the biodiesel tax credit is. Because it's not a standalone item, it's going to have to be attached to something else.
That's correct. In the past, our tax credit bill has gone along with the rest of the tax extenders provisions, so it's very likely this year it will also be included with a larger tax extenders proposal. Along
with the benefits of bioenergy, the renewable energy, comes along with it the job creation that we've seen in the biodiesel industry this past year, and at a time when jobs are so critical to the economic recovery of this country, that has to be a big part, you would think, that they would look at in Washington.
The biodiesel industry has made a great case for extending the biodiesel tax credit. We've got proven jobs that the industry supports, and if we extend this credit, we're looking at another 10,000 jobs that we'll be supporting. And so those are real numbers, and in times, the economic times that we're facing right now, that's something that's getting people's attention.
Now, while the renewable fuel standard is really a foundation for this industry and the ethanol industry too, there have been plenty of attacks on it as well. What do you see happening there?
Well, the renewable fuel standard, last year was the first year that biodiesel was part of the renewable fuel standard. And so we've really seen the benefit that it's done for our industry, the stability with that mandate there in place. There are folks that were not supportive and are not supportive of the renewable fuel standard. So as an industry, we were doing all we can to just say how important it's been, how beneficial it's been to the country through jobs, bettering the environment, things like that.
As we mentioned, it was such a great year last year for the biodiesel industry. Sometimes, I guess, when you're in these negotiations, your success can almost work against you because there are those who say, well, you're doing so well, you'll just be able to make it on your own.
Well, the reason we're doing so well is because we had the tax credit and we had the renewable fuel standard. So those two programs coupled together have really proven very beneficial for us, and that actually helps make our case.
And the fact, and sometimes this gets lost in the discussion, is how young this industry still is. I mean, not nearly as far along even as the ethanol industry, and the ethanol industry compared to the oil industry certainly is still in its infancy in that way. So when you look at the importance of these things to help get this industry up and going, you can't overstate the importance of that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've only had our tax credit since 2005, and then we were a 25 million gallon industry. This year we were over 1 billion gallons, and so that's due in large part to the tax credit. So as we talk to folks on Capitol Hill, that's the story that we tell, and that's a story that's been weighing very heavily with them.
And we have seen growth and expansion of feedstocks used for biodiesel. We've seen new uses. We're seeing development of things like bioheat. I mean, there are a lot of promising markets on the horizon here. Some we're actually seeing now.
Absolutely. I'm so incredibly proud to represent this industry because we are very diversified and we have a great story to tell with the bioheat, with the biojet, obviously with the diversification of our feedstocks. And, when you talk to people on Capitol Hill and you explain all of that, it's a very easy case to make for extending the tax credit and keeping the RFS program.
And it gives you a message that can resonate with non-ag members of Congress, because these are things that they can relate to in urban areas too.
Right. Obviously, we have our folks in the ag community that have always been strong supporters of biodiesel from the beginning, and we appreciate that. And they're still strong supporters today. As we continue to diversify our feedstocks, we see that we're getting a lot of support on both the East and the West Coast, and that's kind of a difference for us. And so as we talk with Capitol Hill, folks are listening.
Well, we'll see what happens this year. It will be an interesting year and an important year. We'll see what happens with that tax extenders package. Thanks, Ann.
Thanks very much.
Ann Steckel, Vice President for Federal Affairs for the National Biodiesel Board. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back here to Orlando, we'll take a look at how biodiesel is helping to set a land speed record. We will talk with an Oklahoma soybean farmer very much involved in that. That's coming up next on AgriTalk.